Who let the lemon head into the room? You are a waste of life, and you should give up.
Thunder Myth, and this is Pam.
Damn, it's Michael. Help me. I need help right now.
I enjoy having breakfast in bed. I like waking up to the smell of bacon. Sue me. And since I don't have a butler, I have to do it myself.
That's awesome!
Alright, what up, everybody? My name is the Osnator, and welcome back to the channel. Tonight is another DC animated movie universe review. Now, I know everybody's wondering, wait a minute, didn't you have a Constantine review set up for a couple days ago? Yes, I did, but there's a reasoning behind why we didn't do that stream, and we'll talk about that once we get to that movie. But but tonight is the Reign of the Supermen review. We're getting close to the end here, guys. Like, if I'm not mistaken, this is movie 13 out of 16. So we have 3 movies left. And of course, I'm here with our usual suspect, Dylan from Anime Talk. What's up, Dylan?
What's up, guys? Yep, we are very, very, very close to the end of this.
We are very close. Yeah, so Dylan, I gotta ask before we even get into the specifics of it. Are you excited for like how this is gonna end?
After watching this specific movie, 100%. I can't wait to see where this goes.
I'm very interested to see what you're gonna think about the ending. But before we begin, Dylan, let everybody know where they can find you at.
Okay, you guys can find me just about everywhere, not only here on the Austin Air channel. Make sure you guys subscribe to my buddy Austin over here for the DC movie reviews. We will also be on Zach Galatiello's channel for the Scream reviews. Watching Scream for the first time has been really interesting, and we will be reviewing Scream 5 very, very soon. With that said, you guys can also find me on my own YouTube channel, Anime Talk, where I pretty much just gather up a couple of my friends. It's usually Austin is always on, and we simply talk anime. Last time we talked about Death Note, and we never really finished that conversation because we had to wait for Austin to watch the rest of the series. But once he catches up by by next Tuesday, we will be probably reviewing the later half of Death Note. So get ready for Death Note Part 2 on Anime Talk, coming out next Tuesday, guys. This Tuesday.
I'll either finish it or get really close to finishing it. I'm gonna go into the chat here. What's up, Deshaun? We got Tim in the house. What's up, Tim? What's up?
I'm also on Tim's Talks every now and again. We did do a fun stream on Bad Batch yesterday. That was fun, Tim.
I heard. And what's up, Jaxlaw? We already thank you guys for showing up. We appreciate it. Okay, so this is going to be very different. So rather than going right into Reign of the Supermen, we're actually going to be doing 2 reviews tonight. We're going to be doing Constantine City of Demons. We're going to review that first, and then we're going to get into Reign of the Supermen. And the reason why we didn't do a separate review for Constantine City of Demons is mainly because of one simple fact.
No one liked it?
Well, we'll get into more specifics of that in a second. But in whole honesty, there really wasn't a lot to talk about. It was just more of a, what's the word for it? Very nothing. Which,
yeah, it was a nothing burger.
So literally on stream it would have just been like, what did we like? Well, this happened, or what do you not like? Oh, this might have happened. But we'll get into that. I didn't create a banner for it because honestly, Constantine is just not even City of Demons wasn't really worth it. Basic plot of the movie. Here, Dylan, I'm gonna say this in a couple of sentences. Basically, Constantine's friend's daughter is in a coma, and it's because of a demonic entity, and Constantine and friend must travel to save her from basically being losing her soul forever. But so
yep, that's it.
And you know what, Dylan? Because this is not really going to be a full-on review of Constantine: City of Demons, I guess this will just be more of the conversation for a couple minutes. I thought the movie was bad.
Yeah, I did. I don't get me wrong. The story, the setup, it's actually pretty good. And I think I'm trying to think of positives to talk about it. I like the animation and all of that. Like the magic, that was cool. But dude, it was just boring.
Yeah, and the thing is, and I think we've talked about this multiple times, is that I don't necessarily blame the movie for being boring. Well, not entirely, because it was actually a show for CW. It was like on the CW seed, and so they basically took I think it was like 2 seasons of the show, and because I think the episodes were not that long, they were only a couple minutes, so they tried to merge all those episodes into one big movie. And in whole honesty, it didn't really work all that much. I
Nope, it did not.
I agree with what you said, Dylan. I think, like, actually, I'll say this, and I think you might agree with me. If they literally just had the first 15 minutes and then you had the last 15 minutes and you just made it into like a short film, it might
Yeah,
not.
because the first 15 minutes and last 15 minutes are the only parts that actually contained any of the story.
Everything else is just them walking around or something happening. We got Bone in the house. What's up, Bone? I mean, if I'm gonna go with positives, I would say I agree with you, Dylan. The animation was good, and some of the visuals were very interesting. And the first 15 minutes of finding out like what the plot is, and then the last 15 minutes, because the ending of it is actually a very dark and very like sad ending, and I think it
Yep.
actually works because it makes sense. But the
It
problem,
does, but it comes down to it comes down to whether or not Constantine is a likable character. And I apologize to the Constantine fans. I did not like him in Justice League Dark, and I did not like him from the show either. He's not he's a jerk and not a likable jerk.
that's understandable. His personality is very he's kind of like Batman, but he's not like cool. Like, here's the thing. I like Constantine, but he's not like my particularly favorite character. Like
Yeah.
I understand why he is the way he is, because this movie kind of
Yeah, the
explains why
story
he is.
it does tell his backstory just a little bit so you understand it. Basically, his backstory was him and a buddy of him went down. He started learning some dark magic, and because of that magic, he was trying to help a friend out. But then he summoned a demon, and that demon stole his best friend's white not daughter some girl they liked. I can't remember exactly what
No,
what,
it
what
was like
yeah.
it was a child of a dark magic priest. I think.
Is that what was?
I think so.
Yeah, so she got basically torn apart by the devil, the demon that Constantine brought. And it was cool how at the end when we find out the big quote unquote villain of the entire movie was the same demon that he's been fighting from the beginning that he originally brought. But again, while there was some character development, he really just wasn't a likable character.
That's understandable. And yeah, that's the only other positive I have, is that you get more Constantine's backstory. But other than that, most of the movie is just them walking around. Um, it's
Finding
also
some ghosts that have really nothing to do with the other old plot.
yeah, it's like I agree, Dylan. The magic was good, but honestly, even then, it wasn't that impressive.
No, it
Like,
wasn't.
at least Just League Dark had like sequences that were like fun and creative, whereas this was just like, eh.
That
It's
was
just
it.
and like some of the visuals are cool, but it just really amounts to nothing. Like, if this was like a 30-minute short film, it'd be better. I think that's what it's just
Yeah.
coming down to. It would be better if it was just a 30-minute short film. And honestly, that's really all I have to say about it, because Dylan, you basically said everything that I had to say. And honestly, there's really nothing to this movie. I'm giving this movie, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I'm giving it a D.
It's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's pretty darn close. I'm giving it an F. I'm gonna give it like a 4 out of 10.
And Dylan, I actually don't blame you for giving it an F, because honestly, it's very close to being F for me. But the reason why I'm factoring in that it's not, Jacksaw, you're not making it sound worth watching. Well, Constantine City of Demons is not worth watching, but the movie we're going to
Yeah.
be talking about here in a bit is one that is worth watching.
Yeah,
But
it's funny. You had me watch the absolute worst film first, and then we watched literally the best film of the entire series so far, which we'll talk about in a sec.
yeah,
This
so
is just
really,
to waste time, pretty much.
yeah, we're basically just trying to pad out the time. This is the running joke with these reviews, is that we're trying to pad out time, because when it's two people, it's very hard to like have it go on really long, especially with a movie like this where everything we're talking about is literally our positives and not our negatives. So
Yeah. So this one we're talking about all our negatives almost, and then we'll get into the good one, which is all positive. That's hilarious, actually.
yes, we will, and yes, we'll. And you know what? Let's just get right into Reign of the Superman, because I think we talked enough about Constantine City of Trash.
Yep, we're at 12 minutes. Let's get into the real heart of the conversation, shall we?
Yeah, we're talking about the meat, the potatoes, the biscuits, the greens, the vegetables, the mashed potatoes, like everything. Everything. We're talking about the main course, okay? We're not talking
Don't
about the
forget that
dessert.
gravy, man.
No, you can't forget the gravy. We're not talking about the dessert. We're not talking about the appetizer. We're not talking about the second main course. Then let's talk about the main course, Reign of the Supermen. And Dylan, I'm going to do my best to try and explain this movie to the best of my ability in just a couple of sentences. Okay. So, Superman is dead, but in the wake of his death, 4 different Supermen have risen from the ashes. You have the Eradicator, you have Steel, you have Superboy, you have Cyborg Superman, but Superman's body was taken from his tomb. So the question is one of these Supermen the actual Superman, or is something even more sinister is at foot? We'll find out. Dylan, how was that?
That was pretty much the story perfectly. Oh boy, there's so much good with this one too. Let me tell you.
And you know what, Dylan? Let me get to my banners, because you're going to be starting us off with your overall thoughts. Not like positive. Like, no, don't go in
Not
depth yet.
positives yet, even though everything about this movie that I have to say is positive. Overall thoughts. Overall thoughts. Okay, so this is the other half of the film that I saw from Superman Doomsday. I kind of expected a lot of what happened in this movie. At the same time, it was done in such a way that really surprised me, and it really built up the rest of I almost said franchise, but the last 3 of these movies. It really built it up for the last couple movies, and the way they did it was so well done. Not to mention, you know what? I need to stop because this is overall thoughts and not positives yet. Yeah. Overall, this was a really fantastic film. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to talk more. As you can see,
And it's actually really funny, Dylan, because this is technically a Superman movie.
that's what really kind of bothers me. I almost hate you off for it, Austin.
But to be fair, though, Dylan, you did actually put a Superman movie in your A tier. I think it was Superman versus the Elite.
Yes, but that's an A tier. It's not an S tier. Dang it! I already gave my thing away.
No, it's all right. I mean, it's like it's not your actual grade, but it's like your tier list
Yeah,
grade.
tier list wise, this is an S tier, and I really liked it.
Okay. So, what did I think about Reign of the Supermen? Well, last time we were here, we talked about Death of Superman, and I think it was actually on Sunday we talked about it, and I really like that movie, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, I like this movie the last time I watched it. I don't want to overhype myself, especially because, again, my opinion could change. After I watched this movie, my opinion did change. And I have to say, it changed for the better. This movie is fantastic. When it comes to this specific universe and DC animated movies in general, it actually ranks high up there because, the Death of Superman comics, I think, or the Death of Superman storyline, which leads into the Reign of Superman storyline in the comics, were a very big deal. And I do appreciate this universe taking the time with two movies to go more in depth with his death, but also how it impacts everything. And I think it did. I think it did it justice. I'll go into more of my positives when we get into it, but I have to say, other than Flashpoint Paradox and Batman versus Robin, for me, like those three movies are probably near perfect. Like, there are movies where I have little to no negatives on, and this one I have little to no negatives for. This was a fantastic movie. That if you
It
haven't
really was a good movie.
I agree. And you know what? Here's what I'll say. If you have not seen Death of Superman or Reign of the Supermen, they have a compilation movie where they basically combine both movies. It's called The Death and Return of Superman. Go ahead and watch it because it is a phenomenal watch.
Yeah, and this movie makes Death of Superman that much better. Like, separate, Death of Superman was like a B tier. It's a great movie. But with this movie, Death of Superman actually went up in my tier list as well because the story together, when you put these two films together, it just makes perfect sense. It really is good. It's that good.
I do agree with that, Dylan. Even though I'm still gonna stay an A minus because it's good, but Reign of the Superman is just oh my
Tap it
god,
there. I agree with you
so
there.
much better. All right. So we are now going to shift into our positives, and Dylan, because I know you're very excited to talk about it, you can go first.
Okay, so if you guys don't know, and I know I say this almost every stream, actually, I haven't said it that much during these streams, I don't think, but the fact is, I am not a DC guy. I have not been a DC guy for most of my entire life. I've just gotten into DC mostly because of Austin and my buddy Ninjoid, who's not here. But yeah, Superman specifically has not been my favorite character ever. In fact, I would say he was my least favorite superhero on the entire planet for the longest time. And then Austin got me to the point where I can at least view something Superman and not outright hate the guy. And then to go from that, go from straight up hating the guy to actually putting his film as one of my favorite DC films ever, really is quite surprising for me. I have a lot of positives with this movie. First off, I really liked how everyone kept up the mourning of Superman. It really made it sell in that he was really dead, and then the question of well, what happened? Because his body disappeared at the end of the last movie. Well, obviously because as I watched Superman and Doomsday, I know that Superman actually his body gets stolen in that film, and then it's turned into clones. So I expected the clones. I expected the clones, but I was not expecting them to go with a snide-nosed brat teenage version of Superman, who's half Superman, half Lex Luthor, and I swear I'm gonna call him Superboy, even though I know that's not his name. I
Actually, that is his name, Dylan. It actually is Superboy.
Okay, okay. I really enjoyed Superboy as a character in this movie. Just him finding out that he's a clone, he's kind of cool with it. Just he's still a kid, but got Superman's powers, and he kind of goes through a little bit of a redemption arc because at first, his quote unquote dad, Lex Luthor, is using him just to get promotions, as he wants Lex Luthor wants him to become the quote unquote main new Superman. And I like the fact that by the end of the film, he really just kind of wants to be a hero, and that's about it. He helps the team out, you know. And I liked how the conversation goes on. Plus, he was pretty witty. That's something I have to talk about with this movie as well. I'm someone who humor is very weird with me. If a movie is too funny, then I don't like it. If a movie is not funny enough, then I don't like it. I have a weird humor line, and this one was very funny. The humor in this movie was straight up perfect, in my opinion. Again, it was very witty. The banter, it was mostly just banter between every character in the movie, and it just fit the scene perfectly. I like that type of humor that doesn't take away from the seriousness of the scene, but can almost be kind of witty and take it back, go, that's funny, let's get back to the story kind of thing. And there was a lot of that in this movie. I really enjoyed. One of my favorite jokes in the movie was when Batman first meets Superboy, and Green Lantern decides to make a gun and point it at him. So it says, "I got shot," and Batman's like, take it. I thought that was hilarious, dude.
I find it really funny too because of the fact that Batman already has Damian to deal with in this universe, and now to have a almost like
Another
not
super kid.
just to have another kid who's just being a pompous asshole, and Batman's just like, no, I can't do this again. Please, I'll kill him, Lantern. Do it. I'll encourage you. And then Wonder Woman's like, no, guys, you can't do that. And then Batman's like, shit. I
thought that was really good. I also really liked, I am not necessarily a fan of the idea that Wonder Woman dated Superman at all, but I did like Wonder Woman and Lois Lane becoming friends. I really did enjoy that. And then Lois Lane looking into the other Supermans was great. We got Robo Superman. I really liked Robo Superman and his whole thing. I can't remember the name of the guy behind him, but he was basically the spaceman that
Hank Henshaw.
Hank Henshaw. So he was the spaceman that Superman didn't save because he was fighting in the last movie, and his whole thing is that he wants to ruin Superman's image. And now that he is with Darkseid of all things, yes, I'm getting to that. He builds Robo Superman to basically take over and destroy the world. Only, of course, everyone thinks that Robo Superman is Superman. He is something along the lines of Superman may be dead, but I'm part of his body or something. Some sort of lie gets people to believe in him, and then uses Darkseid's technology to take over their minds and create another portal. I liked the whole story. The fact that they brought in Darkseid into this as well, that was fantastic. Again, I'm just going through the whole darn movie because the whole darn movie was fantastic. But there are a couple of pieces that I'm gonna skip and save for you, Austin. The last positive I'll talk about before we go to you is I really liked Superman's costume in this when he showed up, and just the black Superman suit. It looks really awesome on him. And I really liked how, as strong as Superman was, he wasn't that strong. And I liked Lois Lane and what she was able to do, and in this movie was fantastic, and it really brought back what Lois Lane needed to do from the last movie as well. trying to help Superman and really can't. Well, in this movie, she was actually able to help Superman because she was able to basically on a spaceship. She was able to open up the windows so Superman can absorb more light, which practically saved his life from Robo Superman, which was fantastic. And there are two other Supermans that I didn't talk about that are positives as well, but I'll let Austin talk about those since I've almost taken the entire movie from you.
Yeah, but hey, that's not a bad thing, Dylan. I'm glad you talked about all of it, which makes my job so much easier. What's up, David? Good to see ya. Okay, well, I'm gonna try my best to kind of follow up on what you did, Dylan, but I guess the first thing, because some of it I am gonna copy, like, I like that this movie ties in not just everything from Death of Superman, but also even, like, movies before that. Like, in Throne of Atlantis, you see Superman save John Henry Irons, who is the scientist you see in Star Labs and Death of Superman, who is then later revealed to actually be Steel. I thought that was a really nice, like, oh, like that, it actually makes sense. It actually connects stuff to the previous movies, which I appreciate. And also the Eradicator, I liked him as well. I would say out of the four, he was the least interesting, but he was like a robot, and there was a reason behind him being there, because he actually is using, like, him being out in the public and using the solar radiation to heal Superman. I thought that was a really nice character touch. Superboy, yeah, I'm gonna agree with Dylan. He was a very fun character, and actually, before I get to him, there was with Steel, he kind of has like some Iron Man vibes to him, which
He does.
I mean, hell, even as like when he's taking off his suit, he has like tech that's literally taking off his suit, kind of like Iron Man does. So it's kind of like oh, that's like a little Iron Man reference, even if it's unintentional. I thought that was fun. So Superboy I liked, and like we talked about, he at the start of the movie he's kind of an arrogant prick. Like, but that makes sense when you have Lex Luthor as your parent, quote unquote. Of course, you're going to be raised to be a cocky, arrogant douche because, you're being propped up as the next Superman type of thing. And so him going through this whole arc of, him finding out, oh, by the way, you're a clone, and Lex and Superman are your fathers type of thing. He gets humbled throughout the movie, I would say, because because they try to make him out to be like, oh, he's gonna be like the next big Superman, but then he's out doing stupid boyish stuff, and Lex Luthor's like, what the hell are you doing? So I really like this whole character arc, and I gotta say, Cyborg Superman was awesome as well, because again, tying back to the last movie, he has a great motivation behind why he wants to get rid of Superman, because he didn't save him or his wife. So he wants revenge by tarnishing his reputation. And what better way to do that is with the help of Darkseid, which I gotta say, out of all these movies, even though technically this is his second appearance in this universe, but even with a few, like, he's had more lines of dialogue in this movie, and I have to say, he was threatening in this film. Like, he was the mastermind behind Cyborg Superman, and then you find out that he actually created Doomsday to take out Superman, and then he literally tells Henshaw, "Oh, by the way, the agreement that we had, yeah, that's not gonna work. I'm actually gonna invade Earth, and I'm gonna kill Superman now. You're just gonna go and do your own thing," type of deal, which Cyborg Superman didn't like, and that led into the whole ending of the film. Darkseid was great. Especially like you said, that how he was going to come to Earth himself and kill Superman with his own hands. I thought, like, oh shit, that's very threatening, and he could obviously do it too.
That was fantastic, yeah.
Actually Lois Lane was great in this movie.
She really was.
Like, because at the beginning of the movie, like, you see her she's still grieving over the death of Clark, aka Superman, which makes sense. I mean, they were dating, and literally the last thing he really told her was "I love you," and then her not being able to say it back, kind of like she was affected heavily by it, and her using her investigative abilities as a journalist to figure out who these Supermen are is it was very interesting, and she was very witty. She was likable. She was like it works. Like I don't know how to say it other than hey, it worked. She adds so much to the story that's already being told. And some of her
Yeah, that's true.
some of her interactions with Lex are hilarious, especially when she calls him Baldy. She makes fun of how he has a bald head. And speaking of Lex Luthor again in this movie is fantastic. I mean, I like how because he's just so Lex Luthor. Like he is like such an arrogant dick, and then he has the his like kind of like his not necessarily his accomplice, but his like secondary like assistant.
Yeah,
And,
every single Superman movie that I've seen, Lex Luthor is always my favorite character, and this movie is no different. He was fantastic.
like Lex is like berating his assistant to the point where like the assistant he gets beat up, and then Lex Luthor is like like at one point when the Eradicator comes in and attacks one of his gatherings, he literally pushes like one of his confidants aside so he can save himself, and I'm like, yeah, that's very Lex Luthor like. Uh, Lex was just fun, like. You know, he's berating Superboy throughout the entire movie. He's like, "Stop acting like a boy. You got to start acting like a man." And he was actually going to kill Superboy before his assistant was like, no, maybe you shouldn't do that because all the others, he's the one that's made it the furthest. And Lex is like, oh, you're right. Oh, by the way, you're fired. And then he has like all the failed experiments kill his assistant, Donovan. Donovan's the name. Now I just caught it. So Lex was very interesting, and he does play an integral role at the end where he has to use the mother box to basically make sure the portal doesn't open and save Earth, essentially. I agree with what Dylan said. I liked Superman's look in the movie. It kind of had like a very bounty hunter-esque look to him. Like he had like this like black suit. He had some like silver highlights to it. He also had like a big massive weapon on his back. He had a couple weapons here and there. Like he looked really cool.
He really did.
And I think this is something that we've talked about multiple times throughout these reviews is I like how in this movie the Justice League do not take away from the overall film.
Yeah, they were there. Something that I really liked about too were they did they were there, and they actually did show some good screen time of them working as the Justice League. The banter between them shows that they've actually been working as a team, which is fantastic. And then it makes sense that because they want to keep this as a Superman movie, they wanted to find some way to get them off planet. You know, by jetting them off planet, that means they won't have time to really mess around with anything, which makes sense because this is supposed to be a Superman movie. But like my example is if you look in the Marvel universe, Thor 2. Okay, Thor 2 happens. We have a big bad guy coming out of practically nowhere. Where are the Avengers at? Nowhere to be seen because it's a Thor movie, but it's in the Marvel universe. Shouldn't the Avengers try to like contact? I feel like in Thor 2 they should get like a shot of Iron Man as a cameo, trying to figure out what's going on. At least in this movie, they showed the Justice League. They were there, and they had a reason why they couldn't fight because they were shot off-world, which I think just makes sense. But I like the fact that they established that.
Exactly. And another thing you brought up too, Dylan, that I was going to bring up is that I like that they kind of had Lois and Wonder Woman like interact and kind of bond over Superman's death, because it is like a nice little bridge from like what the hell, like so Wonder Woman and Superman broke up in between these movies, and then Lois and Superman magically are together. It's not much of a reasoning, but I feel like it at least ties in, and I feel like it kind of wraps up that whole little story arc, if that makes any sense, where she says, like, look, me and Kal had a thing, but you were the love of Clark Kent's life. So
Yeah.
it was a nice little wrap up, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
And then they're very good friends at the end. The action was great again, especially like towards the end, and like I like that each Superman has like their own little fighting style. Like Steel has the hammer, and the Eradicator, because he's an android, he actually uses like a hand laser type of thing. And then you have like Cyborg Superman, where he's more like Superman, and then even though like they're all like Supermans, they are all very distinct in terms of personality and like flair, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Like,
that's really true. They all have each a really interesting personality that makes it kind of and like something that I was talking about the humor again, just because I brought it up yesterday, I want to bring it up now. Like you had the snot-nosed Brett kid with Superboy, and yet you had Superman hologram that was like stone cold, and it just made the jokes funnier. I don't know what it was, but made the jokes funny.
and I will say, I also did like the interactions between Lois and John, aka Steel, because she's like, listen, if you're really that, if I'm a reporter and like I could find out easily about your secret identity, how do you think anybody else is gonna find out? Type of thing. So it was actually really amusing. So, like, and I agree, Dylan. The interactions between the characters worked because they were bouncing off of each other, and it's just so much personality, and you have great dialogue. It works. And I will say the ending of the film, or like the post credit scene where everyone's like, "Ah, crap, Darkseid's here." Oh, what's up, Dandelion? Good to see you. Um,
Hey,
the whole
Daniel, I haven't seen you in a while.
the ending where everyone's like, oh crap, they're like all meeting and they're like, oh crap, Darkseid, just invaded Earth, this is like a big move on his part. And then Lex Luthor's like, you guys are gonna go invade Apocalypse, well, count me in. And then Green Lantern's like, where the hell did he come from? I thought that was a very fun like after credit scene. And again, the character interactions between, and hell, even like even at the beginning where you have Superman's parents and Lois talking, like it was a very nice scene, and it kind of shows off like how, like, it kind of encapsulates that, because we already know so much, but like at the end of Death of Superman, where everyone's dealing with Superman's death in their own way. I like that we had a little scene between his parents and Lois, especially since we saw that towards the end of Death of Superman, where they kind of meet up and just how they kind of bond and talk about Clark and what happened with his death and so on and so forth. And I like that they brought back the guy who owns the seafood restaurant, because he's a very
So
he was
did
a very
I.
fun
So did I.
guy, and he actually even served a purpose too, where he was leading against the mind controlled people. Which I will say that again too. Darkseid's plot in this movie, using Cyborg Superman to mind control people using like apocalyptic technology to create a huge portal so Apocalypse can invade. It's very complex, and he had to get rid of Superman to do it. But it works. Like, this entire movie works. And it's paced together well. Oh my god, it's so good. I think me and Dylan just described the entire film. Like, even though we went all over
We
the
really
place,
kind of did.
this entire
Was there
movie,
anything we missed out?
I don't think so. I think we talked. If we missed something, I'm pretty sure we would have added that to our positives too.
Yeah,
Uh,
because the entire film was positive.
the entire movie's a positive, which, well, we're gonna go to our next category, negatives. I'm gonna be upfront and say I have no negatives. Like, this movie, I can't list one. So that's basically it for me. Dylan, do you have any negatives?
I have one negative, and you're gonna kill me for this one.
Okay.
My one negative is the fact that I like this movie that much.
Hey, that's not bad, man. That's not bad.
Oh god. That's it. I like this movie too much. That's it. This is a Superman movie. Again, out of every single DC character ever, Superman has been my least favorite forever. So the fact that this movie I really, really liked, yeah, that's my only negative.
Hey, I mean that's not a bad thing, Dylan. Not a very bad thing whatsoever. Now, before we give our final thoughts, final grades, just to pad out a little bit of the time, I wanted to ask you, Dylan, because this movie basically is setting up the last movie of this universe. I have to ask you, what is your predictions on how they're going to end this?
So I think Darkseid's gonna, I think he's gonna stop messing around. I think he's gonna come down and finally just ruin everything with the whole fleet of aliens. And I feel like every single one of them is going to be involved. You got Aquaman, you got Green Lantern. I feel like everyone's gonna get involved. I feel like even the Teen Titans are gonna get involved just a little bit. And like I don't think the Teen Titans are going to be that big of a deal, but I do think they're going to have some role. I think
Now,
Superboy is going to also join up with the Teen Titans.
Now, do you think that the Suicide Squad and the Justice League Dark are going to be involved as well, or do you think it's just going to be Justice League and Teen Titans?
It would be interesting, but I really don't know how they would involve. I mean, I guess if they had one movie where everybody lost, and then the bad guys have no choice but to team up with the Justice League, I could kind of see something like that going on because they're all from Earth and they're all trying to fight for survival kind of thing. I could see something like that's going on, but I really don't know.
Now, Dylan, I gotta ask you, since Darkseid created Doomsday, do you think Darkseid has more Doomsday-like creatures that he could bring in?
Absolutely, which is going to make make things that much harder.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know if they're going to be as strong as that particular Doomsday. I think after figuring everything out, he's gonna figure out he needs some type of intelligence in the villains, which is going to make them a little less weaker, but a little bit more dangerous, being smarter. So I don't think they're gonna be as strong as Superman, but I do think they're going to be like as strong as maybe Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman's pretty strong, but then be as smart as like Batman or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Very interesting predictions, Dylan. Now I gotta ask you, because Justice League Dark Apocalypse War is the last movie in this entire series. Do you think they're gonna do something weird to wrap? Because literally after that, it's over. Like, this specific universe is done. So, do you think it's gonna be a situation where like everybody's gonna die, or do you think they're gonna try and wrap it? Like, how do you think they're going to end it? Do you think they're going to wrap it up? Do you think they're going to do something crazy and weird to end it? Like, what are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts? I don't know. I think at the end, the Justice League are going to actually. I think I wouldn't be surprised if the big bad blows up, all the aliens are destroyed, and that's the end of the series. Like, I honestly don't know what else they could do.
So your prediction is that they're going to kill Darkseid, and then that's it.
Yep.
Now,
it's not going to be easy though.
Do you think anybody important is going to die?
They can't kill off Superman at this point, because if they kill off Superman a second time,
then it's like, what the hell?
Yeah. I could kind of see Batman, but I don't want it to be Batman because Batman's my favorite. It could be honestly one of the secondary characters, like maybe Green Lantern or maybe even not Robin, but Nightwing. Maybe even Nightwing could die.
Ooh, okay. Alright. Dylan, I just have to say this. You are not ready for Apocalypse War. Like,
All right.
you are, like, this is kind of like Reign of the Superman, where you're, like, I think it's just more of, like, shock. Like, your mouth
Yeah.
is, your jaw's gonna drop, you're gonna go, what the hell just happened?
That's always the funner parts, right? The funner movie is when that happens.
Oh, Apocalypse War is a very interesting film. I will say it's an experience. It's a good experience, but I don't know how you're gonna feel about it, Dylan. So it'll be really interesting for Apocalypse War.
Yep.
David and Dandelion basically say they haven't seen this movie. If you haven't, go and check it out because it is a very, very good movie. Well, were they talking to watching it? They have sold me. I put out. Yeah, no, I hope so because I mean this movie's great. Need HBO Max? Yes, but you could also look for it using other means. I'm not gonna say what because I don't want to get in trouble. So we'll just say you can use some other means. Didn't work for Just League. I doubt it would work. I think it could, David, but we don't know yet though. We don't know. We don't know. Well, I know, but Dylan doesn't know, so don't spoil.
Yeah, that's true.
Dandelion comes in. Where does one watch this film? Well, Dandelion, that is a great question, and I will give you your answer right now because I will look it up just to make sure. It is currently on HBO Max, but if you want, you can watch it via Amazon Prime, Vudu, YouTube, and Redbox, Google Play Movies. Like basically all the sites you can stream.
There are
movies
other
for
ways to
free.
watch it, but
Oh
we
dang,
won't talk about those.
bootleg copies. Actually, so okay. Well, I'm not gonna say it, but the one that we watched was fairly good. But if you want the full story and not just Reign of the Supermen, you should watch The Death and Return of Superman, which is a compilation movie of both Death of Superman and Reign of the Supermen. And
And both of these films really do feel like they should go together. I will say that.
exactly. So I recommend it. Amazon Prime is doable. It is. It very is. Okay, let's get into our final grades and final thoughts, Dylan. I'm gonna start first because mine's just gonna be really quick. My final grade is an A. I think this movie is probably close to perfect. It's easily in the top 3 for me right now. Like this, Flashpoint Paradox, and Batman vs. Robin are probably the 3 standouts thus far. You have your A minus movies, you have your B pluses, Bs, whatever. But this one in particular is great. I recommend watching Death of Superman before this, and hell, watch the other movies before this to get full context. But both Reign of the Superman and Death of Superman are great. But out of the 2, this one's great because everything works. You have great characters, action, story. Just do us the favor. Go and watch Reign of Death and Return of Superman, or watch Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman, because both movies are great. So,
Yeah, they really are.
David Q, have you done Jonah Hex? Not yet. We're primarily doing the animated stuff, like live actions. I'm not doing that. Like, have you seen a live action DC movie? Like a live action movie? Ugh.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've seen any of the live actions. I mean, of course, I've seen, the old stuff, but none of the new stuff. Other than, I think, Black Adam was the only one.
That is true. Very true. Now, Dylan, what's your final grade and final thoughts?
Final grade and final thoughts. Okay. this is a 9 out of 10, and the only reason why I don't give it a 10 out of 10 is because I'm too stubborn to give it that, even though this was a perfect film and I really enjoyed it. 10 out of 10, I like to save for like my epic um uh, Marvel's Infinity War epic type of storytelling movies, you know? But dang, this was a good film. I'm too stubborn to give it a 10 out of 10, so I'm gonna stick it with a 9 out of 10. It's definitely an A minus, if not an A plus. I really enjoyed it. I really did. I can't believe that I enjoyed it that much, considering it's funny because I told Austin even we were sitting there, we were watching it, and the movie wasn't even done. The movie was just starting its third act, and I stopped Austin and I'm like, Austin, this movie's already S tier. Darn you.
And then at the after the movie, I was like, Dylan, was I right or was I right?
You were right. You were right. Yeah, that's my final thoughts and final grade. Really great film. Really enjoyed it. Glad I watched it.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Dylan. I'm really glad. Okay, now I need a list of the movies. Dandelion, I will send you a DM on Twitter of the list of films. So that way you guys, or well, Dandelion can watch the films. David Q's like Jonah Hex isn't DCEU. No, he is not.
I can tell you what though, Dandelion. Do not watch, what was that Constantine movie called?
Constantine City of Demons. Yeah, that one you can
Constantine
basically
City of
skip.
Demons. Don't watch it.
Yeah, that you can pretty much skip. Alright. Thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated. No problem, Dandelion. I try to help out as much as I can. With that being said, though, guys, we made it to 52 minutes. I gotta say, I'm very impressed, because I didn't think we were gonna go that long with two people. But it kind of goes to show you, this movie...
We have that much to talk about, I guess.
Exactly. So, yeah, guys. So, we went a little bit longer than I anticipated, but you know what? That's okay. Because with movies like this, I kind of want to talk a lot about it. You know, it's like I skip a lot of movies. Yeah, some like Constantine, you could watch it if you want, but realistically, you don't need to. Jaxel comes in.
Yeah, it's definitely not good.
I'll just watch season 2. It was cool if you have not seen it. Season 2 of what, Jaxlaw? Yeah, guys, so we are gonna wrap it up. We're at 53 minutes, so I'm gonna thank everybody in the chat real quick. I want to thank Jaxlaw, Dandelion, David Q. I believe Deshaun was here. We had Bone, Tim's talk. Guys, thank you very much for being here. Much appreciated. Like, I'm glad that these reviews are doing well. So, and plus, I'm glad that Dylan is having fun watching these DC movies and getting more into these characters. And speaking of Dylan, I'm going to let him go around the panel, or well, I guess just one more time. There's really not a panel tonight, but it's just more or less me and Dylan. I'm going to let Dylan go, tell everybody where they can find him. So Dylan, go right ahead. Where can they find you at?
Yep, so you guys yesterday could have found me on Tim's talk, who was actually in the chat tonight. Thank you, Tim. We were talking about Bad Batch for a little bit last night. That was actually a lot of fun. He's a really good friend of mine, so go and check Tim out. You guys can also find me on Zach Alatiello's for the Scream reviews. My first time watching the Scream. We reviewed 1 through 4 already, and we're about to review Scream 5 next week, so that should be fun. Look forward to that. You guys can also, of course, find me on the Austin Ayers channel here. Make sure you guys do like, share, and subscribe to my buddy Austin over here, because we are continuing with these DC reviews. Let me tell you that. I want to know how this story ends. With that said, you guys can also find me on Anime Talk, where I gather up a couple of my friends and talk about anime. Last week, me and my buddy Austin here talked about Death Note. This week, we will be finishing our conversation with Death Note Part 2, so look forward to that on Tuesday. With that said, thanks for having me on, Austin.
No problem. It's always a pleasure having you on. And you can usually find me on my channel, where we're almost done with these reviews. We got like 3 more movies to review, and actually they're going to be all wrapped up within this coming week. Sunday,
Yep.
which is tomorrow, you
And
guys.
after that, I'm moving, which, yep, that's gonna be fun.
Yes, which is why all the reviews are being pushed up a little bit. So Sunday is going to be Batman Hush, which is going to be tomorrow. Wednesday, we're going to be reviewing Wonder Woman Bloodlines. And then Saturday will be the conclusion to everything, Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. And then sometime in March, we will be doing a big ranking stream of all 16 of these movies. So go and check that out when you guys can. You guys can also find me usually on Sundays for the Bad Batch Roundtable. I don't know if I'm going to be on this week because I got some school stuff I got to take care of, but we'll see what happens. You guys can also find me on the Hangout on Wednesdays on the Basco Scenario Guy Scars channel. You guys can find me on Anime Talk on Tuesdays. This week, the Scream 5 review with Zach Axiola's channel, and everywhere else in between. So, guys, be sure to check out everybody's channel links in the description. Even the guys that weren't here, subscribe if you can. And yeah, I think we've about wrapped it up. Night everyone. David Q says bye. No Bad Batch tomorrow. Some sort of sporting event. Ah, yes, that sporting event.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, that kind of works out for the best. Yeah. So guys, be sure to check out well, if you guys can, the Batman Hush review whenever you can, because it's on tomorrow. But yeah, we are gonna wrap this up. So guys, thank you very much for watching. This is the Osnator signing out.
Bye.
Peace. I gotta find the outro.